And hopefully it's preparing to live stream the meeting. Sometimes it's really slow. My internet connection is slow. Who knows? Is it my internet connection slow? Is it Zoom is slow? Is it YouTube that's slow? Something is going on. So I know that, yes, I see everyone. And let's just see. I got it. I think, oh baby, I got it. Song like that. Okay, and I'm recording here. And then if I share my screen, everybody sees themselves. I see myself in the corner. And we see, notice, why does it say this, Ricardo? You see this on YouTube, powered by Zoom, and then what does it have?
The logo.
Logo, why?
I'm guessing because the Zoom is linked with the account.
Which Zoom do I use? I use zoom.miami.edu. They want to brand themselves. They can, so when you have an enterprise version, you can always put in your logo. So later on, for a company, you may not want to promote you want to promote Ricardo, right? So you'll have one on Ricardo. So it may be for your, for right now, for practice, it's good enough powered, having the U, but later on, you may want to, for your company, want to purchase an enterprise version so you can get powered by Zoom. Anything else I need? Okay, so we got that part done, Ricardo. And we got everyone, I guess, here raring to go. Okay. So Bianca, you got in? Everything's okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's do some housekeeping as I always do to figure out what we'll do as usual. Welcome to our session today. Today we're going to be talking about data, which is so important for us to analyze as human beings, and also for what we call machine learning, for the machine to learn on our data, to look for patterns in our data. It's important for us to look at different modeling, and we'll be doing in another week, we'll be looking at some big data with some trading data to be able to see, can we write some algorithms? Can algorithms then forecast? And can we get AI to do a lot of the forecasting? So we first need to understand about data. So let's go to what we always do, is what's due. So we can remind ourselves what we need to do. And I can scroll down and I say today, which is before class, we should have been talking about the guide for software, right? The adaptive assignment and the idea for software. So if I think about it, Parker, you remember we were talking about two types of software last time. Remember how we broke it up? We talked about what? We talked about operating systems, right? Sometimes we called it systems, software. And what else did we talk about? We talked about applications, software. And what's the difference in who cares? So operating systems. What did we talk about, Parker? You remember talking about operating systems last time?
I do not know.
Okay, do you remember we asked about, were you here last time, Parker?
I was, yeah.
Well, I asked you what? And you were supposed to look at your computer and find what? What type of operate? Oh, good.
I sort of remember. But you never asked me.
Right. I never asked you, but what I asked a lot of people, and that was what? What operating system do you have on your computer? And did you find it out, Parker?
No, I did not.
Okay, so you're gonna need to look for it. So I'll call you back in a little bit. So you need to find out what operating system do you have on your computer, right? And that what we talked about. And Franco, what operating system do you have on your computer?
Sonoma
Sonoma what?
14.
Sonoma 14, and who cares what you have, right? I asked that, and Parker says, why do I even have to know? Nobody asked me before what operating system. I just used my Mac, and that was it. Because one of the things here is what application software has to run on the operating systems. And what are they doing on their new operating systems, right? If I go to, let's even do this. I'll go to New York Times. Remember in the New York Times, and what do I want to do? Business. Let's go to business. And let's go to tech. And what are we seeing here? What was the latest thing here? Mark Zuckerberg tapes a podcast. You see that, Amelie? Mark Zuckerberg tapes a podcast with 6,000 friends. So basically everybody's getting into that, right? And then we say what? Apple, did you see that? Apple's unveils new iPhones with built-in artificial intelligence. In order for them to build on their phone under artificial intelligence, and it's built in, what must they have done? What do you think? They must have done what, Anders, versus their old iPhone?
MPUs in their phones.
Yeah, they must have put in some new chips in their phones, and one of it is that MPU, so it can do what? It basically can have built-in artificial intelligence. Will it be able to do, Andres? It probably won't be able to do a lot of computing. It'll be doing some of it that I can remain, but their other part, they'll have another cloud version where it'll be like taking parts of it and then going to the cloud, doing some more processing and then coming back. And we talked about that. They showed their new Apple Watch, their AirPods that reduce noise at concerts. They're going to even have their AirPods be a way in which it can help you with your hearing as a hearing aid, right? And it's grown in this case. They're talking, everybody's taking pictures and excited about it. It's probably like the first version. These are not the only ones debuting, but they're going to try to then put ChatGPT, and Apple's cutting a deal with OpenAI to have it within their phone. So basically it's talking all about, in this case, everybody wants to invest then in OpenAI, and then they're trying to make Siri more intelligent, right? So those are ways in which we are going to do that. So that software is, we did a differentiation between the operating system that runs certain application software in order to do that. So it should have been, if I look at, just to make sure, if I go to the Wiley Reading and Adaptive and go to software, remember we talked about system software. Put that in your notes then, Parker, that system software and operating systems is basically the same thing. So when they say system software, they're basically talking about the same ways in which they're dealing with that. So in that case, the other thing, if I go to software adaptive assignment, and open the assignment, in this case, Ali, do I say Ali Marie? Am I pronouncing your name right? Or Ali? What's a good way?
It's Allie. Like
Ali. So if
for
I'm
Allison.
opening the assignment, Ali, what role am I having? I'm the instructor. I will see a different view, right? Than what
Yeah.
you see when you open the assignment. You're the individual as the student, I'm as the instructor. So I have the idea that I see that 30 people completed it. This is what we call a dashboard. If I go to one due date, I see that it was due today, September 11th by 5. I see 12 people have not started. Maybe some of these people have dropped, I don't know, but no one's struggling, no one's in process. And then if I look under students, I have the need to know. I see students, and I see really what I'm going to be talking about next time, which is data. So what am I getting here? I'm getting data, right, for my students. And I see that Camille already has, in this case, she has completed it. And if I think about it, in these students, under this is what we call a table. Sometimes we call this a file. You can put this in your notes. In database terms, and in data terms, this is student name. This is another, and these are also the columns. You know this in terms of a spreadsheet, right? These are columns, and a lot of times another word for a column is a field. So another word for a column is a field. This is a field, student name, time spent, questions completed, the current process, and the grade. So I can see already who's completed it. I can drill down. So if I went to drill down in Camille, I can drill down and we can go down to more detail. Sometimes I don't need to see the detail, but we can go and we can see what's nice here is we can see also the date which it was completed. So people say, hey, I completed it. It can go down to not only the day, but to the time in which it was completed. So we can see that. And here you see under policies then give me the rules where we set before. And sometimes under policy, this is what we call under data. We call this data governance. And data governance means what? How we make policies, how we take care of our data. What are the rules of my data? What data do I keep? What data do I have? So that's part where I can see the policies. So whatever we do, I want to bring to life the text. I want to bring to life what that was. So you can see here I have my adaptive when I go to what's due on September 11th. And for Monday, for the class, you can see that on Monday for the class, I have assignment 2, which is screen recording assignment. Each person has to choose a different screen recorder than anyone else in your group, have to basically record with overlaid on top of Zoom and talk about the pros and the cons of the software recording. That individual, you want to talk about where does it record to? Does it record to the cloud? Does it record to my computer? Do I have a choice? Does it do both? Is it internet-based? In order for me to use the recording, do I need to have access to the internet? Do I have to go through my web browser? Or can I download it and run it from my computer? What file type does it save? How can I basically share that with others? File type and sharing method. How much does it cost? At least you want to find one free version. Sometimes the free versions is shorter in time. Sometimes the free version is watermarked. You want to talk about what are the limitations. You want to keep it and the ease of use. Once you've done it as the individual, you then, of course, want to meet as a group with one screen recording. You can choose as a group who's going to be screen recording your Zoom. You want to use the screen recording on top of your Zoom so you can see everything that's also happening in the Zoom. Each member then will share their screen and talk about the pros and cons that everybody is familiar with that. Okay, so that's for Monday. It's going to be on before class, right? It's going to definitely be before the class that it will be available. Questions? Anything in the chat I need to know about? My moderators? No.
It's all clear.
Thank you so much. The other part is chapter 5. We're going to now go to chapter 5 in the reading, and let me go to the readings that you can see here. Make sure that everything is correct here. Under the readings and the adaptive, you want to make it under chapter 5, data and knowledge management. Data is without meaning, and when we put meaning to our data, that's called knowledge, and we have to figure out how to manage the data, what to do with that data. What do we mean by a database approach? How do we store the data to make conclusions, to make summaries? That's called a data warehouse. How do I deal with knowledge and with AI? And here's the data adaptive assignment. Let me make sure that that is correct. Many times I like to check and recheck myself to make sure that it's done. And then it says already 10 people were ahead of the curve, which is nice that they've already completed it. We know the due date is the right due date. And then if I wanted to see under students, I could see that I would have already students that already have completed, which is good. You get it out of the way. Plus it makes, when I go over the chapter, you have some thoughts about it. Okay, so I have that done for my innovation. We also have, you can download on the PowerPoints, you can download the chapter. If I go into PowerPoints here, you have then the chapter 5 with data, knowledge, and management. After we go that, by the way, we're going to be looking at automated trading systems using algorithms, and that'll be fun as well. So we got this done. Now let's, and if I go to my Wiley Reading Adaptive, I also, if you want to, you also can go to Wiley Plus Course Resources. You should have that available to you too. Sometimes you can also, if you look at it, you can also go to the chapter right here, the chapters. And for instance, managing data, let's see if something comes up here. And then they talk about the difficulties of managing data, how these data have to be accurate, they have to be complete. So we got everybody here with me tonight. So my question to you, let's talk about data, why data is important, and how can basically computers learn from our data. So let's think about, remember we talked about the word enterprise? No, you remember that word enterprise?
Not really, no.
Okay, who remembers that word enterprise? What should everybody do, Parker? When I say the word like enterprise, what do you think you guys should do? Look it up, right? So Noah, look it up. And Nathan, did you look it up?
Yeah, enterprise is like a big business or company,
Right,
like more large scale.
more large scale, perfect. So let's talk about then that larger company with a lot of divisions, a lot of complexity that we all know. Nathan, you think about one?
Yeah, Amazon.
Okay, let's think about something that we're more intimate about, that we know it in. I really don't know, even though I'm a user of Amazon, those trucks come by quite often at my house, right? And I do returns, and I really love the idea that it's easy to return, it's easy to order. What do we even know more intimately?
The university. You could say
University. Let's start with the
Miami.
university, right? I know that I have you have a better feel for that than Amazon, you know? You agree with me? So let's start with that. So we're going to use as an example a university. We're going to use our university as an example. And what I want to do as an enterprise, I want to think about data at the university. And what kind of data does the university store? Aaron, you're on a roll. Data about what? About whom? Amazon stores, of course, data about their vendors, data about their customers. What is the university store?
Data about all the students.
All the students, one, all the faculty, all the staff, right? All the vendors, and then we even have a hospital, right? The health center, all their patients, right? All their physicians, all their vendors. They also have a database probably of all their equipment. Think about it in terms of all their buildings and so forth. So let's start with students, right? I've been a student, you're a student. We all know about what it is to be a student. I'm always really, I consider myself always a lifelong student, right? Because I'm always having, especially being in this field, I always have to be studying, taking new courses. So let's start with this, Nathan. You're on a roll. What data does the university store about you? And what do they need to store about you? So let's start. Who in the university has,
What?
who in the university has data about you?
Probably all the teachers,
Okay, so
the
we'll start
dean
with
of your school.
right?
And they
That's
store
it.
data about probably like all your academics, all the classes that you're in, your
Right.
grade.
But who has that data, right? So we know a professor, I have data about you, right? I don't have all the data, right? I have, right, but I have the data, and then who else? And then you're saying the school you're in, what school are you in?
The business school,
And what department are you in?
finance.
Finance, so that's one, okay. And you have an advisor?
Yeah,
You think that person has
yeah,
data
all the
information?
administrators.
Right, of that, well, administrators are a lot. Who else? What other department? That's it.
Yeah,
Did you apply to the university?
yeah,
So what was that department? Admissions, right?
yeah.
Right? Who takes care of your grades? Registrar, right? Do you live on campus?
No,
Where, okay. Do you have a car?
no, close to
Okay.
campus.
Close to campus, so you walk to campus, okay. And then have you been to the health center?
Last year, yeah.
Okay,
So
so does the health center have data about you? Gone, yeah.
yeah,
It keep on going on, right? So we got a number of groups. So let's think about that, right? I got all this. And then what do I have? Once I have, even, let me just share here. So you're on a roll, Aaron. So I want to bring this to life here. So if I have, let me share. So can you see my computer? My screen? Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I even think about this with this managed data, right? I got professors, I got my advisors, I got my financial aid, I got my parking, I got my housing, I got the wellness center, I got the business school, I got finance, right? I have admissions. And then even you graduate, there's something called development, right? You think they want money even after you graduate? What do you think? Eli, do you think the university wants money from you after you graduate?
No.
They don't? What do you think, Max? Max, what's your major?
Oh, finance.
Finance, okay? Eli asked, do you think the university wants to have money, get money from you after you graduate? Max, did you hear my question?
Yeah, probably. I think they would want money.
Why? What they want? The alumni, right?
Right.
You're going to be so successful, Max, right? You're going to be this entrepreneur, right? Multi-billion-dollar. We'll read about you in the Wall Street Journal or something about your new entrepreneurial endeavors. Why not go out to Max and see? We'll name a building after you, right?
Yeah, that'd be
You've
pretty
seen
cool.
all these building names, right? The Herbert, what do they call it? The Herbert Business School or something, that guy. And I think that Herbert also, his name is on the Wellness Center, and Herbert, I think his name is on the nursing school, right? So we'll have Max's name on that. So in terms of this, we know they have a lot of data, and basically what happens is when the university or any enterprise, they have to decide what data they are going to store from their customers. And in this case, let's say students, or from faculty, or from others, right? Or from vendors. They basically can break it down to even demographic data. So that's being what? I can do the your last name, your first name, your C number, your address, your phone, your major, right? All these demographic areas that I store. So if I'm going to store this information, Jordan, about you, will this be stored? The issue is it'll be stored maybe with the professor, with the advisor, with financial aid, with parking, with housing, with the wellness, and so forth. That's a lot of the same repetitive data being stored. What's the issue with that? What's the problem with that? Do you have any idea, Jordan?
Yeah, it could be easily accessed.
Yeah. Okay, what are the problems? River, what's the problem of storing last name, first name, your address, your phone in, let's say, 30 different places?
It'd be easy for that information to like fall in the wrong hands.
Well, one. And two, is it redundant?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you live now, River?
I live in Lakeside.
Okay, so you live on campus, right?
Yeah.
They have address on campus. And next year, where do you think you want to live? Off campus or on
Probably like
campus?
a house off campus.
Okay, house off campus, right? So you'll get a house with other folks or by yourself. What do you think?
Yeah, with some friends.
With some friends. That's kind of like the usual pack. Go to Lakeside, which is lovely, and then you have move on and let's go into a house and just have a real blast, right? And then what are we going to do is what happens with address? Will it change your address?
Yeah, I'll have to update it.
You'll have to update it. Well, are you going to go to 30 different places and update it? I don't want to go to 30 different places if I move, right? And you don't either. So what happens here is there a problem there that does someone then just have to go to each of these different departments and say, River moved, and now we have to change his address. One is if we put that address in different spots, what's going to be the problem? Somebody can make a mistake just in typing it. Instead of 1150, they write, let's say 1105, right? And then they have to check it. So I don't have that integrity of the data. What else? It's redundant and it wastes what? Space. So a lot of times when this is how what they called a file system, that the same data is in different locations, and some locations have additional information. So for instance, if you move off campus, you'll have a car, so you'll have to have all that parking information, right? And housing now has your information, and they have different information that sometimes we cannot share that data easily among other types. So what happens in the difficulties of managing data is that we cannot rely on the data. What's important is we need to be that we can rely and trust the data. In order for us to make any decisions about our data, we need to have first to have integrity. So in terms of managing the data, that is what is key. Now we have something called, what's important for you to know is that you need to know what data governance is. So if I think about it, Logan, data governance means what? It's a way for my organization to manage the data, to set rules, to set policies for what? What data is stored? Do you think a university has data, has your credit card information, Logan?
Yes.
What's the problem with that?
They could see all of our transactions.
Okay, but not only that, that somebody else could get a hold of do you want to be giving that out to everybody, your credit card information, that it can be sold over the internet and everybody can go in and get it? No. So what they have to do is they have to handle some of that data governance different. For credit card information, they have to be more secure, or let's say your health data has to be more secure than other places. So put in your notes here that data governance becomes important on who is going to update your data, who is going to be what they call like owning your data. So you need to define then what is data governance. So that is going to be key here. It's approach to how to manage information across an entire organization. If I have an address, I don't need to have that address 30 different places. I can have it, and so when you move, Logan, it only has to be updated at once. It's a way that we're going to have rules on how to handle the data, how to protect the data. If it's Social Security, if it's your health data, we don't want to be out. And even just your GPA. Nobody needs to know your GPA other than who requires to see it. So that's going to be the key. We talked about file management system, and the key is instead of the file management system, we have something called a database approach.
Sorry, my service went out.
That's fine. I have issues all the time. We all have issues, right? So if this is the case, I have, if this is the case, Ella, that if I have the database approach, we can think about the database approach is like a table. It's like you know what a spreadsheet is, of course. And when you think about a table in a spreadsheet, Ella, we have rows and columns. The rows, let's say we had a table called a grade table. My rows, my columns would be like what? Last name, first name, what else? And it would be like test 1, test 2. Just like a little bit when I looked at my adaptive one, right? Where I saw the amount of time people completed their assignments. Those are called fields. Those are like columns. My records, if it were a grade, each row would be my student. So Ella, you would be one record, and across the record, we would read all of this together. So what I want to do with a database management system versus a file management system that, for instance, I told River that his address would be done 30 different times. The database management system, and this will be on your test, is it minimizes 3 problems. One is data redundancy. So on data redundancy, Alexandra, data redundancy means what? The same data that's stored in multiple is stored in multiple locations. I may want to store it more than once, but I don't want to store it 30 separate times, because if you move Alexandria, what's going to happen? Somebody's going to have to update it 30 different times. So we want to minimize data redundancy. We also want to minimize data isolation. What does it mean, data isolation? It means that in the enterprise, in the organization, in the university, many people, many departments can get hold of the data. So for instance, Alexandria, what's your major?
Finance.
Finance. And what year are you?
It's my second year.
Second year. So if somebody came to me and they said, listen, I want, we have a scholarship for a female who's a sophomore majoring in finance. I don't have that information. I want, if it was data isolation, I wouldn't be able to say, oh, you know, I have Alexandria Patricia. She may be able to receive, she's done such a great job in my class to get that scholarship, or at least to apply to it, or to get that grant. That's data isolation, that what we want to do is minimize it so others in org can share. That it's not in some corner that it can't be shared. And data, we also want to minimize data inconsistency, meaning that if your address is at one point, it's going to be consistent every point. Data inconsistency, various copies will be, there won't be as much disagreement. So I won't have 2 addresses, and among the 2 addresses, I'll know which one is the most current. I don't want to have 2 different GPAs. I want them to be consistent. So I want to minimize these 3 problems. And then, because it's a database management system, I want to maximize these three issues. And these three issues is because we're going to be putting the data, we're minimizing the number of copies in my data, Maria Vargas. I'm minimizing the copies. So my data of your, let's say, address will be in one location. And your GPA will be in one location. And your credit card information is in one location. So what's the problem with that? Is that somebody can get that database and what? And hack it. So what I want to do is I want to maximize that I have more security. I don't want to risk the possibility that I don't have enough backup, that I lose my data and I lose a lot of the data and I have to replace it. I want to also maximize data integrity. Data integrity means that I can rely on the data, that I can trust the data. Trust the data is accurate. And data independence, it means that it is not tied to one application. Meaning that I can share the data with many applications, share the data with many applications. You're going to be tested on. So if I look at that database management system, notice I have things from the registrar's office, accounting department, athletics, and I put it in the database management system that I don't have to have that redundancy. Some of that demographics can just be in the database management system. I can just, when I update my data, my address, the accounting department has my correct address. The registrar's office has the correct address. Athletics has my correct address. And it will have more integrity. And the data hierarchy is basically you'll need to know this too, is basically how is data from the smallest amount to the largest amount, is that we start with a bit, a 0, 1, we go to a byte, which is a character, and a column in our let's say, table, or like our sheet, is called a field. A data file or table is called a sheet. And a database are a number of tables that are related. So basically, if this is the hierarchy of the data, I have if I think about it, I have my university database, and among my university database, notice I can have a student database, I can have a faculty database, and what I can have is I can have a database management system that tables relate to one another. And this is the first thing that you're going to need to know. The most important term here is what we call primary key. And a primary key is a field in a database that uniquely identifies each record. So if I look at this table, Camille, you see this table right here? Camille, Alexa, do you see that? Good. If I asked you on a test, Camille, what are the fields of this database? You would say the columns. Student name, student ID, major, GPA, and graduation date. Those are the fields. You know it as columns. Another term is just fields. So you can put in your notes then, fields and columns are the same thing. Each row we said was called what? A record. So in this case, I know that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 records. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields. Everybody with me? So if I were in this case, Anders, saying now I have to have a primary key to identify only one record. Among these fields, what is the primary key?
Probably a name.
What did I say the definition of a primary key? It's unique and will find the record. Can there be a Jane Lee, more than one Jane Lee? Possibility? Sally Adams?
Yeah, then probably student ID.
Yes, not probably a student ID. And you have at the university, they give you always a primary key, which is what, Anders?
Your C number.
Your C number. And is a social security, this looks like social security numbers, this student ID, why don't they give us just using our social security number?
Probably because it's pretty sensitive.
One, it's sensitive, and what else?
It's private.
Well, it's private. What else? Who gets social security numbers? You have to be what? A U.S.
resident.
citizen,
Yeah.
right? You have to be a resident of the United States, right? Do we only just have residents in the United States at this institution?
Yeah, no, we have international students.
International students. So they cannot get it. So what they do for a number of reasons, right? They say, what's the easiest? Let's give unique C numbers. I have a C number too, right? I never know what it is, but I never remember it. I remember my social, but I don't remember my, security number, but I don't remember my C number because I don't use it that often. But the idea is it needs to be unique. So you say that each organization says, hey, we may want to give it not only because it's private, and there is something that once they get your C number, they can't much do with it other than this institution, right? They can't apply for, any types of benefits or anything with it. That's why the most valuable records to hack, Anders, is health records. If you go out to the dark web and you're going to sell some data, when people are grabbing data and selling it for a record, right? And what's a record? It's like all my information, your information, that row in a database, in a table. My health record is more valuable than some other information, data. And that's why the university, does it have a hospital, Anders? Yeah. And a lot of times what gets hacked is hospitals get hacked and for getting their data. Also, how hospitals get hacked and they require ransomware is they don't a lot of times, number one, have as much protection on them, hospitals. And number two, if they basically somebody hacks a server and doesn't allow end users to use that computer, what happens is, it's life and death, right? Think about somebody in your family has to go for surgery and all of a sudden, hey, we don't have their records. We don't know. Are we operating on the left side or the right side? What are their complications? What are their allergies? All that information. If they hack, So basically, they have something called ransomware. Have you ever heard of that, Anders?
Yeah.
And basically, instead of kidnapping people, they kidnap your drives. Kidnap and say, hey, you can't get into your drives any longer until you what? Put money
Okay.
under the tree, and instead of money under the tree, what are they asking for? Bitcoin. And a lot of these hospitals have Bitcoin accounts, not for just investment purposes, but basically they're expecting to pay ransom, even though, like the FBI said, don't pay ransom and things, when I'm going to be kidnapped, right? My family says, they debate whether they should give up their fortunes in order to get me back. So it's the same thing that they say, and they kind of do small amounts when they do that. So that's what's key about this data. And what happens with this data then is we have something called a data warehouse that it's basically another think about it, Anders, is another portion of software that holds my historical non-transactional data so I can do experiments on it. So I can see basically what are the patterns. So I can see basically who I can retain as students, who makes the best students, for instance, or who most likely will contribute, or who basically will succeed at this university, or who should I recruit, is based on data warehousing. And based on this data warehousing, then they do campaigns and use software to do forecasts and predictions. So what we're going to be doing in the class is we'll be taking data, and I'll start with even the stock market. We'll be downloading data and try to look at forecasting and see what people are doing in terms of algorithms to forecast how what to invest in the future, and then see how AI and machine learning can help us in predictions. And what we are as humans is we'll be looking at how the systems run and be able to document it and see how it can be improved. Because all the time it needs to be improved. It's not static. Okay, everybody understand where we're going? So we'll be doing that we'll be looking at software to be able to do that, and we'll even use some servers, remote servers, and maybe we'll also go to a physical lab to do some assignment, and also virtually via remote access. Anything else I need to do? So everybody understand what needs to be done for Monday? I suggest you do what? Demian is also decide with your group even tonight. What I suggest is which software you're going to use, and then make another session before Monday of sharing with your group. So stay with me if you have questions. Anything else in the chat I need to do for my moderators? Everything good?
Nothing in the chat.
Good. So we're
Chat
set.
clear.
Chat clear. Ready to take off. So once we're ready for takeoff, the pilot here, myself, will be available to answer any questions, any personal questions. We'll turn off the recordings and we'll proceed. So now you see how everybody sees how this course is going. The whole idea for doing the documentation is when we get into new software, when anybody has issues, which we will, what will we do? We'll have all the tools that we can do to document it. And then if you want to help other groups, you can document of what actually worked in making tutorials. Okay, the more and the more skills that we can take with us and bring to life all these concepts. Because to me, it's just too boring and not useful enough for you to regurgitate some definitions, but rather what can you do and how can this help you? Okay, so let me share my screen. I need to do what? I need to do my attendance. And you can read through that, and I'll spend a little bit more time next week going over the data, because that's going to be so important to have. And let me just see here. I'm going to go to attendance, right? And under attendance, I have to go to check-in. And under check-in, I have to say start check-in. And then you have 1920 to check in. Stay with me if you have questions. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing what you've done in terms of your assignments, and we'll continue with data next week and try to do some remote access also with data. Okay? Stay with me if you have questions.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Professor.
Dr. Rush.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. I'm looking forward to see what you guys come up with.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
When I go to hit my chapter 5 like assignment and for like the one that was due today, I
Yeah.
don't know why it says like there is an error loading the page. Try again. I tried on Chrome, I tried on Safari, and like I don't know what's wrong because I can access the other ones and I can access the textbook, but I can't like access the assignment.
Okay. Have you, did you do a 14-day or something? Or this is a regular? When did this start happening? Did you do a 14-day or did you get it automatic? Did you need to upgrade?
I think I tried to like look and it's I don't know, I feel like it automatically update. I don't know. I can look at my textbook.
Okay, right. But sometimes you can't.
Maybe I did the 14-day, but I was trying to like log in through like Wiley Plus and it was asking me like what the course like I don't know what it's called, the course.
ID or something?
Yeah.
Did you try to go through Blackboard itself?
Yeah, I would say like error loading page. But then I looked at the past assignments and it would show me that I gotten 100 on it, but it wouldn't
Mhm.
let me open.
Okay, let me just share with you. Hold on. Try it again. You know, like even later on. It's for which chapter?
For chapter 5 and the one that was due today. It
Okay.
won't let me pull up the assignment, but it'll let me pull up the textbook.
Okay, so let me just hold on. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So let me just do this. What's the- Okay, so let me do this. Here, let's see if I can find it here. Try to go to, if this is not going to work.
Put the code in.
Oh, hold on. Your new Mommy course. This one here. Copy this. You see her email? Let me just forward this to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I can see your email
Oh,
actually.
okay, you did? Okay.
Wait, can you go back for a second?
Yeah, let me go back.
Yeah, I'll just take a photo of it.
Yeah. Take a photo of this. Courtney.
Okay.
Okay. take a photo of this, contact her, tell her you're in my class and that you're having issues
Okay.
with it because there's some issues here and they said, oh, they took down the paywall and this is going to be working, blah, blah, blah. Are you, by chance, are you on the, did you have like a pack or something? Did you pay beforehand or anything? Or you just, when you upgraded, what happened? Did you pay for your textbooks beforehand?
Yeah, I have like the thing through like the school, like the textbooks are
Okay, so tell her you're on that and you're having problems
That's
getting
why I don't know what's wrong with it. Because I was like, I don't know. But it's been
okay,
like
but check, but I won't count you, you know what I mean? You won't get counted off. You
it's
understand?
so weird though, because I can access
I know, and it's not you understand why we need a document? Again, Wiley is their own server. I don't have control over it. You
Okay.
know what I mean? So contact her
Okay.
right after the class, and then you have some other people here, but she's the customer success manager. She says, if your students are still having it, please let us know and we will support further.
Okay.
And you have everybody there that they put into the, there's like a dozen people or something they put in there. And I don't, my version is different from your version, right? Because I'm an instructor, you're a student, so all these things. So we're just going to bear with it. So
Okay.
you're not, it's good enough that you can even, but you can take the, the other, the quiz that you can take twice.
Yeah.
Do that on time, right?
Yeah, I did that.
Right. And with this, if you can't do it, it's not your fault. You've documented it. Right. And then we'll try to work with them. Tell her that you're having it. Ricardo, do you have problems with that too?
No, I don't. I just had a question.
Okay. And Anders, do you have problems with that?
No.
Okay. So far, Alexandria, contact her, Courtney, and tell her that you're in my class. Mention, Rushanik. Don't say Dr. Rush. They don't know who that is. You know what I mean? But Dr. Rushanik, that you're in my class. You're taking that BTE, 210 with the course, and you're not able to get through. What is it? And even enclose the picture of the your screen.
Okay.
And tell her that you've used the other ones. The other thing is sometimes clear your cache or something, or try using another computer.
I did. I don't know what, and I re-looked and it let me look at the past assignments and said I completed it to 100%. But
Okay, so write it all, document everything, and as long as you document in my class, you're fine. You know what I mean? And that you report it in a timely way.
Okay, thank you.
Work it out, and hopefully we'll find some solution to it. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much. Have a
My
nice
pleasure, as usual. Thank you for documenting and bringing that up to me. Okay.
thank you.
Bye-bye. Ricardo, what's up?
Just quick question about the assignment.
Which assignment?
The one says to Monday,